Welcome back to Hidden Wisdom Academy Biology. In this new chapter, The Cell, the unit of life, will explore the tiny world inside every living organism. Every plant, animal, and human begins as a single cell, the basic building block of life. We'll learn how the cell was discovered, how cell theory developed, and how it explains the unity of all living things. Also, don't miss our daily biology podcast for quick revision. Let's begin our journey into the microscopic world, where life truly begins. As always, in this slide you can see the syllabus and PYQ topics with their years, so you get to know what to expect in your exams. The idea of the cell started in the 17th century. In 1665, Robert Hooke looked at thin slices of cork under a microscope and saw tiny box-like structures, which he called cells, meaning little rooms. In 1674, Anton van Leeuwenhoek observed living cells in pond water, as well as sperm and blood cells, calling them animalcules. These discoveries laid the foundation of cell theory, showing that all living things are made of cells, the basic unit of life. Organisms are either unicellular or multicellular. Unicellular organisms like amoeba and paramecium have only one cell that performs all life functions. They're tiny and reproduce quickly by fission or budding. Multicellular organisms like humans, frogs, and plants have many cells. These cells are specialized and form tissues, organs, and systems, making life more complex. Remember, unicellular means one cell does everything. Multicellular means division of labor. Cells differ in size, shape, and number based on their function. Most are tiny, about 5 to 50 micrometers. The ostrich egg is a single large cell, while bacteria are very small. Cell shapes vary. Squamous cells cover surfaces, cuboidal cells secrete, columnar cells absorb, and neurons have long branches for signaling. Some organisms have one cell, like amoeba, while humans have trillions. Prokaryotic cells are simple without a nucleus. Eukaryotic cells have a nucleus and organelles. Plant cells have a cell wall and chloroplasts, while animal cells don't. This diversity helps living organisms survive and function efficiently. In 1838, Matthias Schleiden said all plants are made of cells. A year later, Theodor Schwann found that animals are also made of cells. Together, they gave the cell theory, that all living things are made of cells, the basic units of life. In 1855, Rudolph Virchow added that new cells come only from pre-existing cells, Omnis cellula-e cellular. This idea became the modern cell theory, the base of modern biology. All later discoveries in genetics and biotechnology are built on it. The cell is the smallest unit of life that performs all vital functions. It forms the basic structure of tissues, organs, and systems. Inside the cell, organelles like mitochondria make energy, ribosomes make proteins, and lysosomes help in digestion. The nucleus controls all activities and carries DNA, which passes genetic information to the next generation. So, the cell is not just a building block, it's the living center of all life processes. Let's summarize what we learned. The cell is the basic unit of life in both structure and function. From Robert Hooke's discovery to the work of Schleiden, Schwann, and Virchow, scientists have revealed how all living things are made of cells. Modern cell theory explains that every organism is made of cells. Each new cell comes from an existing one, and cells carry genetic information. These ideas form the foundation of biology, showing that every living being starts from a single cell. Let's practice few questions to test your knowledge. Let's start with question 1. The idea that all cells arise from pre-existing cells was proposed by Option A. Robert Hooke. Option B. Theodor Schwann. Option C. Rudolph Virchow. Option D. Matthias Schleiden. Explanation. In 1855, Rudolph Virchow said, Omnis cellula-e, which means all cells come from pre-existing cells. This completed the modern cell theory, showing that cells are continuously made from other cells. Earlier discoveries include Robert Hooke, who first saw cells in Cork in 1665. Matthias Schleiden, who studied plant cells and helped propose the early cell theory. Theodor Schwann, who studied animal cells and also helped from the early cell theory. So, option C is the correct answer, that is Rudolph Virchow gave the idea that all cells arise from pre-existing cells. Now let's move to question 2. All living organisms are composed of cells and products of cells. This statement was proposed by Option A. Schleiden and Schwann. Option B. Rudolph Virchow. Option C. Perkinge. Option D. Leeuwenhoek. Explanation. In 1838-39, Schleiden and Schwann proposed the classical cell theory, showing that all living things are made of cells. They identified the cell as the basic structural and functional unit of life. Later, Virchow added that all new cells come from pre-existing cells. Perkinge introduced the term protoplasm for the living content of cells. Leeuwenhoek was the first to observe living cells, though he did not propose any theory. So, option A is the correct answer, that Schleiden and Schwann proposed the statement all living organisms are composed of cells and products of cells. Let's clear common mistakes about cells. First, classical vs modern cell theory. Virchow's ideas, energy flow, and DNA belong to the modern theory. Second, know the discoverers. Hooke saw dead cells, Leeuwenhoek saw living cells, Schleiden studied plants, Schwann studied animals, and Virchow added pre-existing cells. Third, not all cells are tiny. Remember the ostrich egg. Finally, cells do all life functions, and know the difference between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. That's a wrap for Introduction to the Cell and Cell Theory. We've learned how cells were discovered, the difference between unicellular and multicellular organisms, cell diversity, and classical and modern cell theory. In the next lecture, we'll explore prokaryotic cells, the simplest living units. We'll learn about bacterial cells, their key parts, and compare them with eukaryotic cells. Get ready to dive into the microscopic building blocks of life. Also, don't miss our daily NEET MCQs and PYQs series for daily revision. See you in the next lecture.